Thank you. Chair recognizes Ms. Boebert from Colorado for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Duane, I think it's been mentioned many times here today, and I apologize that I wasn't here for a lot of it. We have other committees going on as well, but we've seen an increase in prices for medication and treatments over the past few years. You would agree?
Yeah, I would absolutely
Yes.
agree with that.
And I think that you all have elaborated as far as the why, and you're welcome to elaborate more if you'd like. But do you see that patients leave their prescriptions at pharmacies because they can no longer pay for it?
They absolutely do in my pharmacy, yes. That happens more than should make anyone comfortable.
I actually have a fun little story. My staff is probably going to talk to me about this later, but I left a prescription at a pharmacy once. I went to get birth control, and I was there at the counter and went to pay for it, and the price was very, very high. I said, wow, is this a 3-6-month prescription? No, ma'am, this is 1 month. And I said, it's cheaper to have a kid. And I left it there, and now I have my third son, Caden Boebert, and so it turned out to be a really great thing. But I personally experienced that when times were tough. But thank you so much for your indulgence there, and talk to the team about that comment later. Excuse me, please state your name for me.
Isasi.
Isasi, thank you. Mr. Isasi, now you state that drug launch prices have increased 20% per year from 2008 to 2021. Other than inflation, what other factors caused this price hike?
Drug makers' greed.
And you state that there are on average 125 patient applications per drug that extends their monopolies and blocks competition up to 4 decades. What kind of distinctability do these patients have from others to make them patentable?
Right. They're exceeding their patent. Their patent was supposed to last 9 years, maybe 11 years, if it's or 12 years, and they're going for 40 years because they're just suing their way into greed.
And how could we end patent abuse without restricting someone's patentability?
I mean, this is so important. By really focusing in on this kind of greed, what we're actually doing is ending drug companies' ability to make money by just extending the existing intervention. We want them to stop making money at the 9-year and go find something else. And every year we let them keep making money from that same drug. We are killing innovation. So it's critically important.
Thank you. And Dr. Atkins, as an oncologist, can you give us an example in which PBMs have obstructed your patients from getting the medications that you've prescribed to them?
We could stay here all day, but I'll just give one.
Yes, ma'am.
Particularly what I mentioned
Doctor.
earlier in my statement that I wrote a prescription on October 14th. I saw the patient 2 weeks later. He still did not have the medication. Asked him what had happened because we thought we could fill it at my dispensary in my practice. I found out from my pharmacist that our dispensary sent the prescription someplace else, and then the patient's PBM, CVS Caremark, took the prescription, told the patient, we haven't heard from your doctor. And we're like, that's not true. We've been going back and forth. Anyway, the patient got his medication on December 1st. So this happens very frequently.
Right, which presents consequences to your patients.
Definitely,
Yes. Thank you very much, Doctor. Mr. Baker, on May 16th, your company changed the name and has a new tagline of patients over profits. What prompted this change?
Yeah, I think it really falls to a lot of the conversation here today. We think you can run a very viable organization that drives to highest clinical quality, lowest net cost, and not focus on profit being your sole endpoint. So we really want to make sure that everything that we do and everybody we work with knows that patients come first. And you know what? This is a hundreds of billions of dollar a year industry. There's plenty of money left over to create a market-driven solution that still
Agreed.
creates good profit for people.
Yes, and in your opinion, do you oftentimes see PBMs using rebates or promote expensive brand drugs, even if they don't work as well on patients?
We do. You can publicly available pull a lot of PBM formularies and continually see brand name drugs that have lost patent exclusivity that are now generics, but those are still the drugs that are preferred on those formularies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baker. And Dr. Atkins, do you mind explaining the protocol of step therapy or fail first?
Sure. Fail first. One example I gave are the antiemetic medications for nausea and vomiting for chemotherapy. There are certain drugs we want to use with certain chemotherapy because some drugs cause more nausea than others. So I may want to use drug X, and the PBM will say, no, you have to use drug number A, and if the patient fails that by getting really, really sick, then I can go back to the drug I want to use. That's one example of step therapy or fail first.
So you've seen patients be affected?
Oh,
by
yes.
it? Yes. Do you think that patients are being failed by PBMs and their insurers?
I think they are. I mean, as a physician, my job is to take care of patients the best way I know how. And when I give a recommendation or write a prescription, and then someone else who does not do what I do, does not have my training, stands in the way of me taking care of my patients, that's definitely failing the patient.
Thank you. Well, I'm very excited to have had this hearing today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. It sounds like that we have a lot of things that we could work together on. Thank you so much to our witnesses here for providing your testimonies and your expertise here in this committee room today. I hope that we can provide solutions to help you help your patients and to get this problem that we all see as very detrimental under control. Thank you so much. I yield.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Ms. Crockett from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to each of you for being here and being willing